right, I'm the last Engage presentation, I suppose. And my name is Constance. I do video games, and this is my first DML. And I'm here to talk about an idea that's not only a good idea, but isn't even my own. And it's a corporation for public games. So this isn't just a rant. This is actually a call to arms. I'm going to task everyone with doing something. Now, it's not my idea. Back in 2006, David Rejeski at the Wilson Foundation wrote an article on the need for a corporation for public gaming in our space. And when I called him to see if I could put his picture up on a slide, he laughed and called it the idea that would not die. Let's go back in history about the formation of the Corporation for Public Gaming itself. Go back far enough and you have an incoming new, in 1961, FCC chairman called TV a vast wasteland. Now, he wasn't anti-TV. He said when it was good, it was great. But he actually was complaining about the poor quality of TV that was out at that time. Flash forward by 1967, you have LBJ signing the Public Broadcasting Act, which in fact put in place the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which has many functions, but four main ones are distribution of resources, system support, doing some early research on, in this case, television in the classroom. And from that, in 1969, you saw PBS come out, NPR in 1970, and the support of other independent minority stations, because that's part of the mission of public media. Questions? What happened downstream? Well, it wasn't just that they formed this sort of public media entity. It actually kicked off shows like Sesame Street. So the output of media turned into being transformational. After Sesame Street came out, there was very little market at the time. And from that, you now see an incredible sort of 1,000 flowers blooming of media coming around education and other science shows, etc. So what has happened is downstream from the creation of a CPB happened a media effect that was profound. In fact, CPB not only took on its literal functions, but it became a brand, and I would argue it created a market. Now, what do I mean about that? Let's go back. When CPB was formed, there was a great potential market, what you would call a blue ocean market, right? The idea that you could have television that was educational, that it could thrive, but no one had actually succeeded in this space whatsoever. So that's what we mean by a blue ocean market. In games, we're in a similar moment. But you also had a failure of philanthropy. At the time, the Ford Foundation was pouring money into what they called the National Education Television Network. They were trying to figure out how to use media in classrooms in ways that might make education broader, more democratic, more scalable, etc. The problem was, a lot of it turned into this. Look at what's on that screen. It's a TV show of a teacher doing work exactly like what's in the classroom. So it was not doing well. And what I'm arguing is that games may very well be at a very same moment. We have, in some ways, a failure of philanthropy. We have a blue ocean market that no one has actually been able to penetrate and monetize yet. Now, I know the idea of public anything right now is a political football, right? Both the left and the right, if you say public broadcasting or public media, want to actually dismantle the very things that we've created. So in some ways, you would think that might scare us off of doing this kind of building task. But I actually think the reason that this idea will not die in the game sector is that, in fact, many of the building blocks that we need to create something like a CPG are actually already in place in the market. So here's an array of the various entities, including DML, that are serving some of the internal purposes and functions that we would need in order to accomplish what the CPB actually did for television. My argument is that if you have these different groups and you stitch them together and you offer system support and you fill a few gaps that we have, and maybe even a little bit of leadership, you could actually end up possibly bundling together something like a corporation for public gaming and handing it to politicians in the last moment to sanction in ways that are smaller than, say, the original $9 million that went into CPB. You can end up creating a brand and actually creating market demand. I am convinced that if we could see some major wins in educational gaming, that it would actually create a desire in the market for more and more media of that form. So I want to quote David Rejeski on this. He ends his article in 2006 by saying, "Granted, it would take vision and courage to create such an entity, especially today, when the concept of public broadcasting has become politicized and compromised. But without such a commitment to serious games, we may find that in 20 years we have managed to create another vast wasteland out of a promising new mass medium. So this is my call to arms. What I'm asking is that we just go ahead and build it ourselves and get politicians to sanction it at the last moment anyway. Thank you.